Welcome into the DGD Podcast. As always, Robert Reynolds and Kobe Pierce. Kobe, how are you doing today, man?
Doing good, Robert. I mean, just recovering after the fourth long day. So, um, you know, shout out all of you that had to go into work today. Sorry about it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, with that being said, though, I hope everyone is having a had a great day, had a great fourth. I know it was interesting for me, but let's get down to business, right? We are awaiting a massive, and I do mean literally a massive, announcement from Daniel Calhoun. He is expected to announce his commitment really at any moment. Um, and as I say that, he has committed to the University of Georgia. Calhoun has committed to Georgia. That's 6'6", 355. That is a grown ass man. So way to start the show off. That was insane. Wasn't expecting to necessarily pop off at noon. However, the good guys get there, man, and the Great Wall of Georgia is being built very, very quickly. Kobe, obviously with Calhoun being from Walton, what are your initial takeaways from Calhoun?
Yeah, I just want to say to start with, my man's punctual. I mean, he had that loaded and ready to go. Like 12 o'clock, it dropped. Uh, you know, Kind of funny because sometimes these can kind of drag out. They say 12 and all of a sudden it's 12:30, all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock, sometimes it's all the way to that night or whatever. So the fact that he said he was committing July 5th at noon, he stood by that fairly quickly. But
Yeah,
I'm, I'm,
absolutely.
I'm excited. I mean, he's a big body from in-state. A lot of things have him ranked as a top five, top six tackle in this class. Um, it's always great to stack top five talent, especially when they're from the state. I think that's a big thing. Um, you know, he's not. If you look at some of the other tackles in this class that you maybe didn't get, two of them are from South Carolina. Two of the top five, two of the top six guys from South Carolina. Both are staying home in South Carolina. So I think it's important that you're also keeping in-state talent, especially when this really came down to you and Alabama. I think that's always an important detail. You know, Big body. I think there's gonna be some talks about possibly like an Xavier Truss, who, yes, big body, yes, was a tackle coming out of high school, but pretty much exclusively played guard here. I think that'll be interesting to watch. But hey, you'd rather teach somebody who's 6'6" how to play guard than someone who's 6'3" how to play tackle. It's just kind of how it works.
Absolutely. I think with his weight as well, right? Being what he's listed as, 24/7 has him at 355. On three has him at 365. Right. Regardless, I think you see Georgia when he gets to Georgia. I think what you'll see is you get him to slim down, right? Slim down, and if he does that, I see a potential for I wouldn't say I want this, but could be a day one starter, whether it be a tackle or guard. Just depends on how you feel about it, right? I think you could see him move into guard, but definitely the potential for tackle as well. Um, so obviously an excellent addition for Georgia here, but also he was the must-have name in this offensive line class if you're Georgia. Like you mentioned, in-state guy. Georgia's going for a lot of massive individuals, right? A lot of massive individuals, but I think Georgia just had to keep this one in state. And listen, obviously we talked about we didn't talk about this, but he's also joining the class with Michael Uini, uh, committed since our last show. I think he committed Thursday or Friday. I forgot exactly. I think Friday. Friday was what it was. So now you look at Uini and Calhoun now, obviously on top of Marcus Harrison and Malachi Tolliver, and it's just one of these things where you look at these are some massive individuals to the point where it feels like Sam Pittman's back, right? Just absolutely massive individuals. Um, Kobe, do you want to elaborate more on why do you think Georgia is going for such massive individuals?
Yeah, I think it really it tends to come down to offensive line coaches and offensive coordinators and what they value in an offensive lineman. Sam Pittman and Jim Chaney valued big, strong people movers. Todd Monken, kind of when he got here, definitely wanted that like mixture of a lineman, someone maybe a little smaller, a little faster, a little quicker. Um, this tells me that I mean you're still going to want athletic linemen. Don't get me wrong about that, but you're definitely back to enjoying having the big people movers. I think you've realized that as people get bigger, faster, stronger in the SEC, you also have to get bigger, faster, stronger in the trenches. You can't be, outweighed, out lengthed, out all these things. Can't give up, size, arm length, reach to a better defensive lineman and expect to have success. Um, it very big when you talk about the last two offensive tackles you've gotten to. Basically the other guy picks you over Michigan. Just talking about like teams that you're competing for nationally, and also you played both Alabama and Michigan last year in the playoffs to win that national championship. I think people sometimes forget that those games can be won today in June, July. Getting a recruit like this, you think about like a Jamari Sawyer who was, obviously not as big, but obviously a very, very good offensive lineman from the state of Georgia. He plays in those two games. He absolutely shuts down Aiden Hutchinson, David Njobo, and then he really has a great game against Will Anderson Jr. as well. Um, you know, those are the kind of guys that you keep in state and they pay dividends down the road when they're junior or senior. They help you win big games against the guys that they didn't go to school for.
Yeah. Also, I think another thing worth noting here with Calhoun was he's actually a Bama legacy, if you will. So it makes it even sweeter for Georgia to land Daniel Calhoun. Yeah, so I'm excited for it. Listen, like I said, I think this was the must have for this class in the 24 cycle. Obviously, Georgia's not done, folks. Georgia is not done. Um, but I do want to bring this up to you. So that makes 23 commits for this class, and we just started July. Typically, listen, 25 is a magic number you're used to hearing. That is no longer the case. That is absolutely not the case anymore. I think you look at what 30, maybe 30 ish, depending on how the situation plays out. Um, 30 could be the magic number, but Georgia Georgia's just loading up on the offensive line, and like I said, I'm ecstatic. Welcome to Dog Nation, Daniel, and looking forward to seeing some more recruits popping off soon for the University of Georgia. Now, with that being said, if you keep up with 24/7, the addition of Calhoun brings the class point number to 304. I know some people don't see and have to feel the need for that. I mean, listen, I'm not necessarily one to look at points. I look at average ranking, uh, but I think that number can very well go up. But do you think, Kobe, that that number will match? Um, do you think it will beat A&M per se for the greatest ever?
I will be highly surprised. I think you saw this, and this is a good transition and a random shot in the dark kind of body blow. I think you saw yesterday why the University of Georgia, as long as Kirby Smart's in charge, probably will never beat that recruiting class Texas A&M had 2 years ago, and it has to do with a man named Cam Coleman. For those who didn't look at Twitter yesterday during the holiday, surprise commitment to Texas A&M out of Phoenix City, Alabama, 5-star wide receiver, heavy Auburn, lean, silent commit, whatever you want to call it. I mean, basically, everybody and their mother had, Cam Coleman wrapped up going to Auburn. See you there. We were in it. We were trying our hardest to be in it. We wanted him, to maybe be a Georgia Bulldog. I kind of think we all thought that it was going to go on throughout the summer and maybe push it into the fall before he committed. I think it gave us a good chance, but kind of the out of the blue commit to Texas A&M when really they haven't even been talked about just screams that, there was a phone call made. It was, how much NIL money are you going to make at Auburn? How much NIL money has Georgia offered you? Okay, double that. We'll give it to you here at Texas A&M. And he said, okay, I'll see you there. And I think that's the thing about, that 2022 class for Texas A&M. When you just start looking up and down their commit board, like the mass amount of players they took at like single positions is just what screams like they took like 6 defensive linemen or like 7 defensive linemen. I think
like they 5 had or 6 of them that class had like 5-star D linemen.
Yeah,
or something crazy like that.
It just is one of those things that don't get me twisted. We offer kids NIL money. We all know that. Me and you know that. But we also know that it is a fraction of what average universities offer NIL money. Georgia, I think we've talked about this before. Really, Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama really roughly have the same general NIL structure to an extent. We're not really outbidding each other, I guess. When you lose a random to Miami, Texas A&M, some different schools like that, people definitely bellied up to their pocketbooks and sign somebody with a check. So I don't see us surpassing it right now. I know me and you know about a couple of decommitments possibly coming in the next few weeks. You're also going to pick up some big commitments. You're going to probably come out net maybe in the positive from those things. But I don't know. It'd have been one of those things you had to sign like Sammy Brown and Riddick. Or, don't get me wrong. I think you could finish definitely 3 or 2 all time. I just don't know that one is on the table per se. I'm still very excited about where this class is headed in terms of possibly being Kirby's best ever.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I think it'll be Kirby's best ever. I don't think it beats A&M's. There's a chance that you can see it second. I'm kind of with you 100% there. That's just my thoughts on it. Listen, it's nothing too worrisome to get you, riled up or whatever. Listen, when you have 8 5-stars or whatever it was, right? That's absurd. However, right, in the hindsight of things, now look at that class. It's so all over the place, right? They're not all there. You know what I mean? I think with what Kirby's bringing in, right? And listen, we know that they're not done. Like I said, I think this will be Kirby's best class to date, for sure, ever in that regard. I do want to bring up some more news here. I guess obviously we knew that that Daniel Calhoun was expected to announce today, but there are more names that have confirmed dates in Nair Daniels and Marquise Easley. Nair is what expected the 7th, Marcus Easley the 8th, right? And then also Joseph Jonah Ajanye is expected to pop his commitment on the 12th, right? As we know so far, Georgia's got to feel confident with all these guys. Is there any one of those names that stick out to you for the month of July? And yeah, who are you most excited about?
Yeah, I think that this isn't necessarily my excitement level, but this is for the people watching right now and then listening tomorrow on the podcast. Very interesting you bring up Easley. He dropped a top three like recruits do sometimes, probably about a month ago. Um, and the good guys were not in that top three graphic, Robert. It was the University of Alabama, the University of Tennessee, and the University of Oklahoma. Three, for all intents and purposes, three SEC schools in that graphic. So definitely kind of seeing where he goes should be interesting for the Dogs.
Yeah, I think for me, listen, Nair Daniels is just a mad. Like we think Calhoun's big. I don't know how to explain this, folks, but
And
Nair
Daniel's
Daniels
like
is like
370.
370. Yeah, like 370
Man,
range.
4 bills.
Like 6'7", 6'8" too as well. So, um, when you look at that right there, but then also if you go and watch Marcus Easley's tape, I cannot tell you how much I want that kid in this class for Georgia. When you look at athletic tackles, right, on the offensive line, I think it's easy to look at, right, Broderick Jones. But what I saw at 345 pounds with 85-inch arms, his ability to get out and run reflects, right? It reflects Broderick. I'm not saying he is the spitting image of it, but it reflects his ability to do that like Broderick Jones did, and that's what excites me, right? Because right now you look at Marius Mims as being that uber athletic right tackle, right? But you bring in Marcus Easley that has the potential to play left tackle with that athleticism. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane. Kobe, you posed a question to the brigade. What 5-star do y'all want to commit to the Dogs before signing day? Pick just one, only one. And we're getting some responses in. Mitch Alday says he needs KJ Bolden, and then Waneri for Israel. And, to pontificate more on this, right? I think Waneri is. I can't say for me, Kobe, that he's the one that I need the most, right, or the want the most, right. I do think maybe not even KJ Bolton. Give me Justin Williams. I like Justin Williams, but if you're looking at need, I think Aiden Breland would be a name that Georgia can push for. Uh, I don't know. I don't think he's expected to commit anytime this month or whatever. But if before signing day, right? Give me an Aiden Breland. I think what you're looking for there is, right, that addition to the interior of the defensive line that you need, right? You got 3 edge rushers in this past cycle. Now you need to bolster up the interior. And what a way to finish out if you get a 5-star D line in Aiden Breland. I'll let you answer that question yourself.
Yeah, I think that I could go a bunch of different ways, like you just did. When I really just start to talk about um, our needs. I mean, Justin Williams would be just quite the pull at middle linebacker. Just considering what you've been doing at middle linebacker. I'm with Mitch Alday to an extent. I'm ready for KJ Bolden to commit just to hear Ohio State fans cry about how he's been committed to him for so long silently, and somehow we keep cheating and getting all these players. And then I'm with him. You start tearing down a little bit of the walls at Buford. It kind of would get us started. Obviously, Dylan going to be at Buford this season. Have a commit in the next class from Buford as well. But Nick with the facts. ignored the one name rule, and he's rolling. Justin Williams, Aiden Breland, Williams Nweri, Cam Michael, Chris Jones, KJ Bolden. Whew, what a list of names. And I'm here to tell you that I think it's a good list of names for those watching. I think Nick with the facts spit some facts because
do we have some competition for Pat down there?
That was that sounded like a Christmas list to some of you, but to me it sounded like a really good next 5 or 6 months of recruiting on the trail.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think when you look at the month of July, like I said, we listed a few of those names. I think you look at Easley and you look at Nair Daniels, Joseph Jonah Jonye. Then you got not in July, but August 5th, you have
Bolden,
excuse me. So the next month or so is about to get insane. Nick with the fact says likely Dylan Stewart. I know it's not a name that Georgia fans are probably expecting, but he's throwing the facts out, man. So we just got to let people know. Likely Dylan Stewart head to Ohio State. Well, don't count out South Carolina. We'll see what happens.
Is it bad? Is it bad? I just really want him to go to South Carolina. Like, really want him to go there.
Why you want that? I mean, I'm just curious. Is it? I mean, I'm just curious.
I just think it'd be fun for them to have some top level, one top level player, kind of like back in the day
with Clowney.
Yeah, it's just be a good time.
Well, they got Nicholas Harbor as well, but that's not a defensive guy like that would be.
I'm excited they got Nicholas Harbor. I'd like to see what he can do. I mean, obviously Kirby and the Dogs have a really good ability to handle one phenomenal player. It's when you start stacking numerous first-round draft picks that the defense seems to have a little trouble. But, one Nicholas Harbor, one Dylan Stewart, I'd like to see it. We'll see. I'm with him, though. I think he's leaning Ohio State. I think they're making a big push.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to Daniel Calhoun, though. Kind of understand what he brings to Georgia's class, right? I know we get carried away with other recruits, right? We get ahead of ourselves, but I kind of want to take a moment to look into what Calhoun brings. I don't know if you've had a chance to see him play or not. From highlight tapes and things like that, I kind of see just a mover. Could be more violent, but I think you see him definitely going to be able to move some people. I feel like effortlessly at times. Like you said, kind of project him, could see him slide inside, depending on how things play out, right, with the other folks in this class, right? If you see him slim down to, maybe 330-ish range, whatever the case may be, or then you start to really look at the potential there at the tackle spot. But, I think you look at Calhoun as being a contributor. I don't know how early, right? But at the same time, after this year, the expectation is you're losing a lot of guys off the offensive line, which was why this class, the offensive line was so important. So I guess I'll let you explain a little bit. What are your expectations for, Calhoun and what he brings to Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, I like this right here. Sorry, I'm just going to quick caveat. Nick with facts. Calhoun is like a DeJuan Jones from Ohio State. I'm only going to have to say this about because of what could be to come, but I think Nair Daniels may fit that mold just a little bit better. Just a little bit.
Dude is just pure mass. It's just there's no way around it. That is just literally
anytime you go, oh, he's 6'7" plus 365 plus. I mean, that's massive.
That is massive.
But back to Calhoun, besides Andrew Thomas level, first round talent, all pro tackle, you're probably not going to start on the offensive line at the University of Georgia as a freshman. It's not just here. There's a lot of places that you probably are not going to start as a true freshman on the offensive line, no matter how good you are, or how good you were told you were. I could see it easily being the kind of thing where you redshirt a year, you're going to kind of have a double year of mass exodus. I think, you're going to have 4 offensive linemen leave this year for sure. I think you could see another 2 possibly leave after that. So, you're losing six offensive linemen that have played a lot of snaps. You're going to start losing some portal guys here and there. Some guys that are getting older in their career that maybe haven't played a lot. So you're going to start to look thin. That's what we've talked about, that there is a legitimate chance during this class's like sophomore year, redshirt freshman year, that there could be 2 of these guys playing offensive line. It's not like it's been being where, we're so excited for Austin Blasky. We've been so excited for, guys like that we're like, where are they? Where, when are we going to get to see them play? I think Blasky and them are juniors, third-year
Something like that.
juniors, something like that. Maybe going into, even fourth-year guys, and you haven't even seen them play yet. It just speaks to the depth and the ability from the COVID year. Like, we're finally about to be done with the COVID year eligibility soon. So I'm excited. I think Calhoun, I think there's going to be, what will that be, before the 2025 season, I guess what that'll be. There will be a big turnover in youth in the offensive line.
Absolutely. Nick with the facts asks, who's going to be our center once Van Pran leaves? If I had to make a statement, I would probably say Jared Wilson. You could also see Blasky. I feel like Blasky is an excellent utility piece. You could play him anywhere, any of the 5 spots on the line, and be fine. But Nick, if I had to choose, I'd say Jared Wilson. Kobe, what do you think about that?
Just a tough call right now. I mean, we gotta kind of see how the 1 and 2 deep fall this season to kind of see, what we're going to look like next season. How injuries kind of fall out, who has really good years, who's coming back, who hits the portal. I think you're right though. I think Austin Blasky just as a utility player, he could do anything for you. If you need him to come inside and play center, he can. If you need him to play right tackle, right guard, he can. Was Van Pran a better center than Trey Hill to you guys? Yes, 100%. I played with Trey Hill. He was a really good center. He probably wasn't even as good as Lamont Gilliard that played center here under Kirby as well. He just didn't give himself.
You forget about Galliard, don't you?
Yeah, he just didn't give himself enough time. He needed another year, and he kind of went ahead, went to the Bengals. Happy for him. I mean, he got drafted playing. He's their backup center, but just not quite as good. I think Van Pran will be possibly like the number 1 center coming out this class.
I think that's very, very reasonable to think that. That's a fair observation to take. Let's see. But yeah, no, I think, kind of looking back on it, when, what Calhoun brings, right? I think that, like I said, I don't think it gets, I think it gets overlooked a little bit that is the biggest name in the class in the state of Georgia that needed to be picked up, right? Especially offensive line, right? I mean, I know you got KJ Bolden, you have to keep in state, but it's just a massive win for Georgia recruiting.
Well, like you're talking about, I guess I'll help you, like what you're saying. He's the biggest in-state offensive lineman by a long shot. Like, it's not like years past where you could assign the 3rd and 4th best offensive lineman in the state. You had to have him. Like, it was a steep from 1 to 2 was a steep enough dip that you didn't want to have 2.
Yeah. You kind of get nervous about it too. Like if you don't, like obviously we don't have to go down that road of what if Calhoun doesn't land in this class. I mean, I think Georgia would have been okay, but I think the optics would have been horrible for Georgia here. Like I'm just going to use hypothetically if Daniel Calhoun doesn't commit to Georgia, goes to Alabama, right? First off, Alabama's getting a dog. Kid's a monster, right? Road grader. So that's end of Alabama's offensive line class. But secondly, you sit there, you have to have a fallback plan. Right now, your more emphasis is on Easley and Nair Daniels. But now you look at a guy like, I don't know. I mean, what would you do? You take, well, Ethan Callaway committed to LSU, so he's off the board at that point. Right, so Casey Poe, I don't think Casey Poe, as much, even if Georgia is recruiting him at that point, I just don't think you see him as comparing to what you have in this class. Just everybody is massive. I think Casey's like 6'2" and a half, 6'3" and a half, or something like that. Like maybe not even 300 or cracking 300. When you compare that to what Georgia's hit so far in this cycle, it kind of tells you what Stacey Searles is trying to do.
Well, you just get in a situation with Casey Poe like you did with Clay Webb. I don't care how good you are. Clay Webb, phenomenal athlete. Played with him, 5-star guy at Alabama, for those of you who don't remember, number one center in the class. But he was only like 6'2". 6'2", 180 or 280 pounds. Maybe on a good day, like he was getting up 290 pounds. But I remember one season, he got sick. He was like, had flu or something. Weighed in one day at like 263 pounds. It's because his frame just couldn't hold the weight easily. I mean, at 6'2", it's not easy to be 300 pounds and be as active as we were. He was super strong, but he had short arms. Has trouble be able to get a hold of you, kind of thing. Those are the things you worry about with like a Casey Poe type lineman. I'm not saying he won't be good. I'm not saying he won't play at Alabama. Just saying that when you put a guy like Jordan Davis, who's 6'7" on the defensive line with 34.5-inch arms, 35-inch arms, Trayvon Walker, and you have 31.5-inch arms, 32-inch arms, you lose by 3 inches. I mean, it's measurable right there,
Yeah.
I think that's why when you get into like the Nair Daniels, the Daniel Calhouns, that long length is just so important because it gives you that ability to, to have a little room for error, I guess.
Well, I think another thing is, like I said, we talk about this cycle and what we're seeing out of this, right? Just massive human beings. We're talking like easily at 345, Nair at 370, Calhoun at 350 ish, 360. Marcus Harrison, right, 340 ish. I think Georgia can feel more confident bringing these guys in and trimming down the weight rather than bringing in a guy like a Casey Poe or like a Clay Webb and trying to figure out how to keep the weight on them and add weight, right? Add good weight, but keep them, because and Kobe, you know this, with how much Georgia runs and things like this, it's extremely hard to keep weight and add weight during the season. So I think Georgia realizes that, and I think you're seeing that as a result. You go for bigger guys, just gargantuan human beings, and slim them down to where they need to be. And I think that's working right now with what Coach Searles is doing.
I'm going to read my man Nick with the facts, bringing up more things. How many sacks for Nazir Stackhouse this year? Very random question from Nick. You a big Nazir Stackhouse fan, Nick? I would say less than 4, maybe less than 3. Man's playing interior, like true nose guard to zero shade, maybe getting out to a 3 technique on occasion. Maybe if he runs some good games or stunts, he gets home a couple of times throughout the year, but not He's not going to have many from the interior.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, I think another thing though, when I'm starting to see some of these questions about future commits or potential announcements, right? I do think it's as interesting, right? That Georgia's in. We knew Georgia was involved with Marcus Easley, but if I'm not mistaken, Marcus Easley decided to put a top three to kind of allude to what you'd mentioned earlier. Um, Alabama, Tennessee, Oklahoma. But then, right, so from if you're a Georgia perspective, you're just like what? However, when you look at it, the predictions are all going to Georgia, right? Like, is this a troll? I think so. Uh, if I had to choose right now, I think it's a troll, and it'll be fun to watch if he commits to Georgia on the 8th. Because I think a lot of people are going to be salty about that, and it's not Georgia fans though. So I just want to leave that there.
Well, especially in the days of like, and you can help me with this because I was not paying attention yesterday, but they were talking about on Twitter the guy, offensive lineman on 3 has him rated as their number 1 offensive tackle. No other site has him, I don't even think, in their top 10. And he dropped a top 3. And it's Georgia, Florida State, and Kentucky. And it's like,
Oh, you
why
talking
did
about
he even?
Jonathan Daniels? You talking
Yeah.
about Jonathan Daniels? Yeah.
Why did he even drop that top 3? We're not recruiting him. I don't know about Kentucky. I can't speak for Kentucky, but like, man's had like a dozen crystal balls to Florida State in the past 12 days. Just go ahead and get the interactions. That's all that's for. It's for follows, it's for interactions. You got some Georgia fans tweeting under your page, you got some Florida State fans tweeting under your page, you got the one Kentucky fan out in the world tweeting under your page. I don't know what you're doing there, but if you're going to stir the pot, at least be like, oh, I'm choosing between Florida and Florida State. That
Yeah.
you got some interactions in. But yes, very obviously, as I'm alluding to, Nick, Jonathan Daniels is. I mean, we will be shocked if he does not commit to Florida State because we know he's not coming here, which only leaves apparently Kentucky out of that top 3. But it definitely is setting up to be an all-time. It may even surpass the hat throw from a
Quay
couple
Walker?
years ago. And I mean, that's a pretty big troll job to put out
I
a true top 3 and just
not
be
pick
like,
anyone.
oh.
You know what? I don't know if it's a troll job like that though, man. To be honest, I think. Well, it is a troll job, but I'm telling you now, I don't see. I don't know if there will be anything that trolls that Tennessee hat toss, man. Like I just don't see anything topping it. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think that hat ever landed. I think it went into orbit, and you'll
Still
probably never
flying.
see it again. And yeah, it literally could be still flying. So, listen, is it a troll job? Probably so. If he commits to Georgia, it will be. Yes, but at the same time, like I just don't know if anything will top that. As we move on, excuse me, one final wrap up before we wrap this up. Go, we got a busy week, right? Like we've already mentioned this several times. When we come back Monday, Georgia's class could look a lot different, and in a good way. And we'll be sitting here looking at prepping for another week of commitments. Oh, Nick with the fact says he knows about Charles Lester. He's going to Florida State, got bailed out. Um, listen, Kobe, you're thinking Buffalo. Talk about going to Colorado. That'd be interesting, especially with Prime out there. He digresses, folks. He digresses.
You heard it here first, I guess. Maybe, Mr. Nick.
Maybe.
Maybe you're hearing it here first. I don't know.
Other than that, there any final words on Calhoun's commitment to Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, just always a great time when you get a big commitment like that. I don't think people realize, and some of us do, and some of us were newer fans. Not going to call anybody a bandwagon fan, but people do become fans or more involved fans as teams win more. You're probably not watching this podcast if you're relatively new, but maybe you are. But you just haven't always been getting linemen as good as Daniel Calhoun. I guess if you look at him and you say, "Oh, he's only the 6th or 7th offensive tackle in his class," depending on what site, why aren't we getting the number 1 tackle? Like, we should be getting a 5-star number 1 tackle every year. There were years under, not that long ago that we weren't getting a top 10 tackle every year. We weren't getting a top 15 tackle every year. We were getting guys from, in the state that were the 15th tackle in the state of Georgia. And they were playing on Saturdays for the Dogs. So enjoy this time. Enjoy the ability to argue and troll other fan bases, because, you are living through the golden age right this second of Georgia football. You're back to back. You're getting pretty much any recruit you want, minus a little bit of, shady money deals on the side. And the Great Wall of Georgia only builds. And we have proven under Kirby that games are won and lost in the trenches. If we can stop you from running the ball and we can run the ball on you, we're winning at like a 99% clip right this second. So.
Yep, absolutely nuts. My final thoughts on this: obviously, Georgia is a must-have. Calhoun was a must-have for Georgia. Excuse me, must-have for the University of Georgia. Georgia lands their guy. Expected to. I don't think Georgia's done. But we'll keep the limelight on Calhoun for today. And on that note, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. Again, Daniel Calhoun, 4-star offensive tackle, commits to the University of Georgia. With that being said, have a great day. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe. Check out our sponsors before we wrap up. I forgot. Get so carried away with this. Apotheos Roastery and Alumni Hall. Go check them out. Check them out on our website, dgdpodcast.com. And with that being said, have a great day. Go Dogs, and we'll see y'all next time.
Go Dogs.